Dr. Mario, how do you pronounce it?
Beauregard. It's French-Canadian.
Beauregard.
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 Nice
Okay.
look. This is the translation.
Okay.
Nice look.
I'll let you do
Beauregard.
the pronunciation then. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you for coming.
Benny.
I'm excited to talk to you today.
Uh-huh.
Before we start, can you please lay out your academic background and everything that you study for folks who are listening?
Okay. But before telling you that,
Yep.
I need to tell you a bit about my own story, where I was born, a mystical experience that happened to me very young, because that explains what I did later on.
Sure.
Everything.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so I was born in a small town named Granby, but about 50,000 people. That was the nearest city, important city. But my parents were farmers for generations, and so my father was raising pigs and some cows, chicken, some rabbits, and so on and so forth. We were living in the town where we were living. We were about 300 people. You get the picture. I was born in 1962.
Okay.
Countryside. It's like the U.S. or so. Farmers, and at school I was skipping some. I didn't need to stay at schools and to follow all the program, because the teachers told my mother, who was in charge. My father didn't care about that, because he went to school for 4 years only. Mm-hmm. So he was working very hard at the farm. And so my mother said to the teachers, I don't want him to skip too many grades, because he will end up like at 13 at the university.
Right.
It wouldn't be socially good for him,
right.
I guess. So they said, okay, but he will skip at least a few years. You need to skip. And what I did, I skipped a few years, and then I stopped going to school, and I went working across the world. I went to Israel to work with handicapped children. I've done several things for a few years. I stopped studying. I experienced something very special when I was 8 years old. So we had a farm, we had fields, where the cows were, we had pigs and so on and so forth, but we had also a small forest beside the field. And small, it was quite large. And I liked to go in that forest, because to me it felt mysterious. I was attracted to it. So I was going there from time to time, and alone usually, because I have a sister. She's 3 years younger. And she was too young, and it was the summer break, 1970. I was 8 years old, and I felt that I had to go to the mysterious forest.
Okay.
And it was a beautiful day, like today, sunny, hot, sticky, and I decided to go. And when I was there, I walked for what seemed to be perhaps a few hours. And I was only 8, so I became tired, obviously. It was hot, and I found a big gray rock. And I decided it attracted me. I decided to jump on it and sit on it for perhaps a few minutes, just to take a break. And I did. And after a few minutes, I was sitting there. I started to have the impression that the woods, the trees, they were vibrating. The cows that I could see between some trees, same thing, the grass, myself included, and the big gray rock, we were all vibrating. And like if I was under the influence of psychedelic drug, because I studied psychedelic drugs later as a neuropharmacologist, but at 8 years old, I didn't know psychedelic
What did you
drugs.
think was going on at 8 years old?
I felt the presence of God, to be honest.
Were you religious when you were young?
My parents were Roman Catholic. I was an altar boy. I started at 6 and I finished at 14. So my parents were very religious people, but they were not mystics. They didn't know anything about mystical experiences. They were simply attending churches on Sundays, like most people.
And you were an altar boy.
Yes, I was. But nobody told me ever about a mystical experience. Yet, I realized later on that that's what happened. That was my first mystical experience. I've had a series throughout my life until recently. That was the first one, but that was probably the most influential because so I realized that I was the little Mario was part of one all. I don't know what was the term. I had an insight that everything is interconnected, and it's even more than that. Everything is one, and I am one. I'm part of it. The whole of the mystics, or if you take psychedelic drugs, sometimes people will report or if you have a near-death experience, people will sometimes report that kind of experience. So I've had that experience, and I realized that I was not really a human being. I was the all within a physical body.
You felt as if you were connected to
everything
in the world.
Yeah, exactly. And then I left the big gray rock. I started to going back to home because I didn't want my parents to worry about where I was because I disappeared for a few hours. And so I went back to home. But I knew that I couldn't talk about the experience to my parents because they would not understand this. They would think that I was a bit crazy. They would bring me to the doctor. So I knew, and I heard, you never talk to your parents. Never, ever. They're deceased now. Now they know. Now they know because I'm talking about this to you. They knew, of course, from the other side, but that's what happened. And in the hours and days and I would say a few weeks following this experience, I started to, today we would say, download my life plan, my mission on Earth, what I was going to do. Imagine. And so at 8, I realized that I had to become a brain scientist. Now we say a neuroscientist, and that I would be involved in a global transformation on planet Earth. I would play a key role in that, and that I would meet with colleagues around the world in various countries, and we would create a movement that I've called, and others have called, the post-materialist movement, from materialist science to post-materialist science. In 2014, we published a bunch of scientists in various fields published the manifesto for post-materialist science. So I realized the prophecy. It was accomplished. And everything I've done in my life as an adult, as a scientist, or as a human being, was related to what I experienced at 8 years old. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Strange, but that's the truth. And then I heard that I would become famous internationally.
You heard that?
Yeah.
From where?
The voice.
The voice? You had a voice?
Yeah, it felt like a voice in my head. Not my own voice, not the inner dialogue or monologue, an external voice.
That you had to communicate this message across humanity.
Exactly. It was 8. I was 8. And 12 years later, so I skipped school, I skipped grades. I went to work in Israel with handicapped children. And back then, it's 1979. I'm 17. And then Palestinians and Israelis could live together. They were not fighting directly like now during the last few years. So I was working, helping handicapped children who were Israelis, but also Palestinians. And Israeli doctors and Palestinian doctors and nurses were working together back then.
Oh, wow.
Yes, it has changed tremendously. So I did that for a year. I spent a year in Israel. But I became a deeply spiritual person. And the priest wanted me to become a priest because I was an altar boy. So my parents were poor farmers, not rich farmers, small operation. He came to see my parents one night, I remember, and he said to my parents, this kid is quite bright, and I would like him to go to the seminary so he becomes a priest, a Roman Catholic priest. He won't stay a priest for long because he's too bright. He will become, he will move very rapidly upward the ranks, and he will end up at least as a cardinal. So the priest told my parents, and he showed the money on the table, and he said, I'm going to pay for him to become a priest, a member of our church. And my parents...
Who do you have to pay?
The seminary.
Oh.
It was not free. You know, you have to... It's a school.
Is it? Oh, it's like training.
Yeah, it's like training. It was the level before you become a real priest, because we were between, I was 11 when I went, 11 to 15. So it's not like you're between 16 and 20 to become or 22 a real priest. It's the level before.
Right.
It's like a testing ground, if you will. So my parents were honored because they saw the priest was a very important person in society back then, like the doctor. They accepted the deal. And I went to the seminary for 5 years to become a priest. But
wow,
this didn't go well because I was...
Where was this?
In Granby, where the hospital was where I was born. Granby, Quebec. It's in a region called... We have 17 regions, I believe, in the province of Quebec. So it's a region called Eastern Township.
Okay.
And it has a border with Vermont.
Got it.
And New Hampshire and Maine.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's where we are, Northeast. So I went there for 5 years, but I started to ask too many questions for the priests, the fathers, because I was, like you do in your job, Danny, you're asking questions, good questions, sometimes tough questions. That's what I was doing when I was 11. So the priest said, if you want to become a good priest, you do not ask questions. You obey what we're teaching you. So I was asking questions like, who was there when Jesus was born? He was not able to be aware of everything that was going on around. Where did he tell these future disciples everything about what he experienced? He was only a baby. He couldn't talk. Mm-hmm. Who were taking notes of everything? You know, that kind of question. So they were telling me, too many questions. Obey. Don't ask questions. But I keep doing this for 5 years. And at the end, the father in charge of the seminary said, don't become a priest. You cannot become a priest because you don't obey. Mm. So I told him about science, and I didn't tell him about my mystical experience, but I told him, I feel like I have to become a scientist. He said, become a scientist. You're
not cut out for this, bud.
No, but at first he said, you're so bright that you could become, you could occupy the top level in the Vatican eventually. Who knows? You might become the Pope, the next Pope. But this didn't turn to be true. And I became a scientist because of that. So that was the beginning. I had my life plan. So I knew which kind of experiments I should do.
The Amanita muscaria mushroom has been a medicinal staple in human history for centuries. It's not psilocybin or psychedelic. I use it because it's more functional than weed, and it provides stress relief like I've never experienced before, and it's totally legal. And that's why microdosing Amanita has been so popular. I would have never even touched Amanita if it weren't for Amantara. They actually educate people instead of pushing product. Their whole purpose is self-healing without synthetic prescriptions. Amanita is not a high or a trip. It's like a nervous system reset. It relieves stress. It's even been used as an alcohol and marijuana replacement without next-day brain fog or downsides. Amantar is the trusted Amanita supplier in the United States, and it's totally legal, ethically sourced, and lab tested. This isn't a side hustle or a scam, it's a serious operation. Real Amanita tastes natural like a tea. No synthetics or additives. There's no weird edge or synthetic vibe. I take a few of these capsules most days after work, and it makes a house full of screaming, crazy toddlers far more bearable. It's like having infinite patience. Imagine being in the most stressful environment possible and not feeling triggered at all. That's what Amanita does for me. If you're curious about Amanita muscaria, Amantara is the place to start. Amantara's 500 milligram capsules and gummies are consistent and beginner friendly. 2 to 3 capsules is a great starting point. Check out the gentle, relaxing effects of Amanita muscaria. Go to amantara.com/go/DJ and use my code DJ22 for 22% off your first order. Again, that's AMENTARA.com/go/DJ and use the code DJ22 for 22% off your first order.
But there was a second experience that was crucial. When I went to Israel, I talked about earlier about Israel, I became sick because I drank the water. I was not careful. I was 17 back then. And the nurses, the doctors told me, you shouldn't drink water. You should drink water in a bottle, but no, not in the well. Or I didn't care, and I got very sick for an entire week. I was throwing up. I had fever, and a nurse from Switzerland, the German portion of Switzerland, where I worked, incidentally, she took care of me, and but I became very, very sick when I came back from Israel 1.5 years later. And the doctors didn't know what I had. I became infected. My brain became infected and my entire body because I contracted 3 different brands of viruses through the infection. And it affected my brain profoundly and my entire body. Do you know about Dr. Eben Alexander?
No.
And because
what is his first name?
Eben, E-B-E-N, Alexander the Third.
No.
Neurosurgeon, famous neurosurgeon from Harvard, trained at Harvard. And that's Eben, my friend.
Okay.
And Eben got very sick. He was the most materialist, the greatest atheist on planet, one of the greatest atheists. As he was trained as a neurosurgeon, he only believed in physical matter until he contracted bacterial viral infection that nearly kills him. And he's had a major...
Oh, you know what? I have heard of this guy before.
Oh, yeah. He wrote Proof of Heaven and other bestsellers. And And his colleagues didn't recognize him after that. And same thing for his wife. She said, "You're not my husband anymore." And she decided to leave because he was totally transformed. And from the most radical atheist on the planet, he became the most spiritual person on the planet. And now he's touring the world in the United States. And he lives in Virginia with his new wife, Karen. And so I know him very well. The same thing happened to me, pretty much. And so I became very, very sick. I had to leave university for an entire year. I stayed in a bed like somebody dying from terminal cancer or AIDS. And nobody knew what was happening. And my parents I returned to...
So what was there was 3 viruses you said you contracted? Do you know what they were?
Yes, but it took 7 years to an expert on tropical infection. He found out in Hôtel Dieu, a major hospital in Montreal. So there were cytomegalovirus virus, Epstein-Barr, and another one that was a long time ago. And there were 5 overall, belonging to 3 different categories. And it explained why my brain was being destroyed. Why there was inflammation in my entire body.
How old were you?
20 now. And it began when I was 19 and then 20. And so I couldn't go to university anymore. So I decided to go. I had no choice. I went back to my parents' home and I lay down a bed for a year without being able to eat. I was able to drink a bit somewhere.
Wow.
No, not able to walk. And I thought my life is over. And I didn't understand why it was over at 19 and beginning of my 20s, while I had my mystical experience at 8. It didn't fit. And
what did the doctors say?
They couldn't identify anything because they didn't think about it. And they were only regular doctors or they had other specialties, but they didn't think about, the guy I met 7 years after that, he was a world leading expert on tropical infections. So he was quite unique. So you don't find doctors like that everywhere. Mm-hmm. He found out, and he told me he could explain all the symptoms I experienced and why and he said, with your profile in the blood, they found, they did very sophisticated tests and they were able to identify all the viral factors. And he said, when you have that, in principle, you die, my friend. And he said, I don't understand why you didn't die. But you know what happened to me? I went to heaven, in a way. I've had a near-death experience. And over there, they said, I know that some viewers will find it a bit outrageous, but they said, that's part of your life mission, my friend. You have to go through this very difficult experience. And mentally, it was telepathically. I didn't have a physical body. I had like a light body, if you will, a lighter form of, it was me, but differently. Mm-hmm. And there was a light being taking care of me.
A light being?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
what did it look like?
As a human, but you couldn't see the eyes because it was too bright, and the mouth, but it was speaking telepathically to me.
Saying what?
That's what I'm going to tell you.
Oh, okay.
You signed for it. You don't remember it. You signed for it before your incarnation. And I said, what? He said, yeah, she, because it was kind of both genders at the same time, not a man, not a woman, a more, I would say, more evolved spiritual being. That's all I know. And he said, she said, Dad said, you signed for it, you don't remember it, but now you will. And it showed me proof of that in a way. Okay? And I said telepathically, what is the relationship between what I experienced when I was 8 years old, my mission, and now I'm dying, almost dying? What's the end goal of this? It's like a nightmare. And it said, no, you're not going to die. You're going to access the full life mission program now, and we'll help you to get way better, my friend. And you don't believe me, but in a few years from now, you'll be better than ever. And you will go very late in life. You will have lots of energy. And I'm 63 years old now. And biologically, I did some testing. I'm like at the end of the 40s, 48, 49 biologically.
What do you mean biologically? What kind of testing did you do?
I tested various biochemicals in my hormones and all kind of stuff. So we have norms, you know.
Can you extrapolate on that? Like what type of test was it?
Sexual hormones like testosterone.
Like you had a blood panel done where they just tested your blood?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. For various markers in the brain and stuff like that. So chronologically, on paper, I was born in 1962.
Right.
I'm 63 years old. I'll turn 64 in July. But biologically, not on paper, I'm more like 48, 49, 50 years old. This is what I mean.
Okay.
Like,
so
some people do that. We have that in society as well. People who train or people.
Sure.
In my case, I only use consciousness, but I'll tell you later.
Do you do a lot of physical exercise? Do you keep track of your diet? Do you?
The diet, yes. But after I nearly died, I switched. I changed my life totally, and I started to do exercise. But I haven't done exercise because I'm a scientist and I'm way too busy for it. But now I'm going back to. I've been working in Switzerland for the last few years, and now I'm going back in a few days from now to province of Quebec, where I was born, Canada, and I'm going back to the gym.
Oh, good for you.
But the program, of course, will be adapted for a guy that is officially 63.
So other than your hormone levels, what other specific markers did they test that said that you're really 40 and not 60?
Omega-3 levels and
Okay.
all sorts of biochemicals that link various molecules together. And I cannot give you all the scientific names, but
Sure.
it was a screening of, a clinic specialized in anti-aging in Montreal.
Okay.
So they know what they have to look for, to see how old are really you. So like you're let's say you're 38, but perhaps you're biologically on paper 38, but biologically you may be 30, 32, depending on how you eat, do you train. So people who are 90 years old, sometimes they're not 90 years old. They, on paper, yes, but they may be 80 years old, depending on their lifestyle. And so you see what I mean?
Well, what's the baseline? That's the question. How do you measure the baseline of that?
Oh,
One of the interesting things about human beings is that we've been living the same lifespan for as long as recorded history. We've been living as long as there's no sort of exterior intervention, like
yes,
like bloodshed or like disease or plague. Like we will live the same lifespan.
Yes, unless you do something else. You use consciousness, which is the greatest force in the universe, with love, spiritual love. And that's what during
You're getting all woo woo on me early here, Mario.
well,
you got to lay the fundamentals here. So
okay.
How explain?
But we were talking about my experience, my near-death experience.
Okay. Oh yes.
That's where I learned everything. They gave me the information. I received it, and they told me, from now on, you will be very psychic and deeply spiritual, and you will not lose the connection with spiritual worlds. We'll be there. You just call us. We'll there, and you'll feel it. You'll be guided all the way. And I came back, and as they said, after a few months, I was able to leave the bed, to walk, to start eating a bit. It was like a miraculous healing. And so remember the doctor, the expert told me 7 years after that I should have died. I did not, because I was helped. And they gave me the entire research program of my future career as a neuroscientist, believe it or not.
Wow. I love when it gets cold outside because it gives me the excuse to wear my rag and bone pants. I've been wearing their clothes for a while, but Rag & Bone's infused denim is on a whole nother level. I'm getting older and my body is changing, my style's changing, and I don't have the patience for stiff cardboard jeans anymore. When I put on their infused denim for the first time, it honestly ruined all the other pairs of jeans I own for me. The fit was perfect, structured without feeling tight, and the comfort was ridiculous. They felt broken in from day one. They move with you and they keep their shape, and they develop character the longer you wear them. And no matter what your style, slim, straight, relaxed, or athletic, there's a cut that fits you perfectly. I highly recommend the athletic fit. But the real magic is in the wash. Each pair goes through this 8-step over dye process, so the color has depth and texture you usually only see in super premium denim. And over time, it gets even better, like the jeans are aging with you. This is Rag & Bone doing what they do best. 2 decades of denim obsession packed into a pair that you'll reach for every single day. It's time to upgrade your denim with Rag & Bone. For a limited time, our listeners are getting 20% off their entire order using the code DANNY at rag-bone.com. That's 20% off at rag-bone.com using the promo code DANNY. When they ask where you heard about them, please help support the show and tell them we sent you. So how did you go out? How did you become a neuroscientist? Where did you study? And
I studied at the University of Montreal, which is a medical school, which is one of the best school in the world for neuroscience. And we have two major schools in Montreal. The University of Montreal, the French university, versus McGill University, the Harvard of the North in Canada. McGill started a football program in 1875, and back then they were playing against Harvard, Princeton, college football. They didn't call it college football, but that was the beginning of football in North America.
Okay, so one of the things I wanted to get you to explain to folks, the fundamental framework of material science, right, has its roots deep in the foundation of science right now. Yes. How did this happen?
It's been like that for 4 centuries, about 4 centuries, 4 or 5. It has been with us for a few centuries, but during the entire history of the humankind, it was not materialism. It was people knew back in antiquity,
right?
Or I have native blood. I'm an Algonquin from my father's side. Abenaki. Warriors, spiritual warriors. Don't provoke me. I'm just kidding. But yeah, that's true. And for the entire history of humanity, people were connected spiritually, except during the last 4 or 5 centuries. And what happened is that the Vatican told the founding fathers of modern science, like Galilei, Descartes, French philosopher, mathematician, Isaac Newton, and so on and so forth, study the material world, the physical world, and leave us the spiritual world. To us, theologians, philosophers, priests. Otherwise, you'll get burned. We'll kill you. That was very clear. And the scientists, the founding fathers of science, like Galilei, for instance, he didn't have a choice if he wanted to live. So he accepted the deal as the others. They didn't have choice because the church, the Roman Catholic Church, was so powerful back then that even kings could not do anything. They were the most powerful. So the scientists, if they wanted to remain alive, they accepted the deal. That's what happened. And in reality, these grand figures like Galilei, Descartes, Newton, they were all deeply religious men, in fact, and spiritual. But they understood that they didn't want to do something that the church didn't want. So, they accepted to study what was called the material or physical world. They used their enormous brain power to investigate the material structure of the universe. That's how it started, really. But, it's coming back. We're seeing the end of materialism. Materialism is, or physicalism, if you will, is still dominant to a certain extent in the academic world around the planet, across the globe. But in 2000, the project I proposed to, it was first proposed, I was at the University of Montreal. The medical school, I have a particular history. I was fighting the establishment because I was a trained neuropharmacologist, so an expert on brain molecules. You can ask anything about brain molecules. I'm the expert. The PhD in neuropharmacology. The medical school, the directors, the dean, they wanted me to make deals with Pfizer, with big pharma, to bring money to the university, to bring money to, research funds, because universities take a certain percentage of your grants, for administration,
sure.
That sometimes 10, sometimes 20%. It's a tax. And so
they wanted you to go out and solicit.
Oh no, I didn't have to be solicited. They were coming at me.
Oh, they were coming to
so
you
I
guys.
did I'm the first scientist who have tested a memory molecule for Pfizer in 1994 at the Brain Imaging Center of the Montreal Neurological Institute.
A memory molecule?
The first memory molecule for Alzheimer disease, dementia.
In 2014?
No, 1994.
Oh, 1994.
30-some years ago. I was there because I'm sick.
Pfizer gave you a grant for this?
Yeah, and they paid my salary for a whole year.
Whoa.
But you know what happened? I think I will say what happened because that changed my trajectory. And I don't think that they will sue me because it's the truth. What happened is that in the contract, they said, I use a form of scanner that is called PET scan. You know, you have fMRI, functional magnetic resonance imaging, or fMRI, and you have PET scan because the PET scan allows you to see what's going on neurochemically in the brain.
Sure.
So we were looking for, I don't want to sound too technical, to see how the drug was improving the function of a specific chemical messenger or neurotransmitter that we call acetylcholine.
Yes.
Involved in memory.
Okay.
Playing a key role in various memory functions. So we were the first to do that. I was the first. And the results were kaput, very negative. And in the contract, Pfizer, they knew that if the results didn't look good, they didn't want me to go publicly and say it to the population. So I was prevented legally to say that. But since it's been 32 years, I suppose they won't sue me now because it's the truth. But I don't want to create problems with them.
Now, were you testing a specific patented drug?
Mm-hmm. Before it becomes public.
What was the name of the drug?
I have the name of the molecule, but 1994.
Type in Pfizer 1994 Alzheimer's drug.
Yeah, what was the commercial name? I'm not sure they had the commercial name yet because they went public after that. But in terms of results,
they launched the drug after you gave them the negative results.
Exactly. And when I realized that, and
Aricept.
Exactly.
Aricept. Okay, nice.
Yeah, hydrochloride. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so October 1994, Pfizer signed a strategic alliance with iPsycho Limited to co-develop and co-promote the Alzheimer's drug Aricept.
That's it.
Originally known as E2020. This partnership allowed both companies to market the drug, which was later approved for managing symptoms of Alzheimer's disease. Mm-hmm. Is it saying anything about like how well it worked? If you click show more, Steve.
Legacy.
Interesting.
But, despite the negative results, because in terms of positive alteration of brain activity at the chemical level with regard to acetylcholine, didn't show. Mm-hmm. It didn't do any good. And so in the contract, and I said, I have to publish the results, the findings, the negative findings. And they said, no, you don't publish negative findings because we have invested millions and millions and millions of dollars. So you won't destroy.
Wouldn't they do the test first, then invest the millions of dollars?
No, because they first they start to test with rodents. Okay, so it's overall it's a 10, 12 years process before you commercialize the drug on the market.
Sure, okay.
It's and it can cost nearly $1 billion overall. So they want to protect their investment. I could understand their point of view, yet to me it was not the truth. And they said, you don't have the right to publish a scientific paper about this. Mm-hmm. I said, what? And I said, you're going to tell the public that it's it performs very well and people will buy it and doctors will recommend it and across the world. and said, "That's none of your business, man. We paid you. Shut up." That was the last time I worked with Big Pharma and Pfizer. Because to me, a deeply spiritual individual, my life is guided totally by moral values.
Yeah.
And they were not telling the truth. I said, "You have to tell the truth." They said, "That's none of your business, man. You're the researcher. We're Big Pharma." Mm-hmm. Okay. That was the end of it. And at the medical school, I told them that. And I said, and so they didn't want me to do what I did and why I became famous. I started doing studies about spiritual experiences, using scanners and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But at the medical school, they thought I was totally crazy. He said, "No, but that doesn't bring money to and prestige to the medical school at the University of Montreal. Why are you doing this?"
How much of that was going on in that school? How many researchers like yourself, neuropharmacologists, mm-hmm. were getting grants from pharmaceutical companies to study drugs like this? Lots of people.
Many. Like in Harvard, like in Princeton,
and the universities take a percentage of every single one of those grants.
Yeah. Yes.
Interesting.
So you see this is a kind of financial system linking the medical schools and Big Pharma.
And it still works this way today?
Oh, yes. And we've seen this a few years ago, but I won't go there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we still see it today.
You see what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was a rebel. I refused. So I did worse than that. I participated in a foundation for defending citizens in my country, suing the government in Supreme Court. That's what I did.
It's good for you, man.
Yes, but I had to flee after that. Why do you think I left for Switzerland?
Was it pretty? Oh, this was when you were in Canada.
Yes.
Oh,
I was
okay.
I
was going to say,
but I worked at the University of Texas Medical School in Houston, at the University of Arizona in Tucson. I spent quite a bit of time in the U.S. So, and my grandmother, the mother of my mother, was born in New Bedford, Massachusetts. I have a part of my family that is American.
So when you saw this whole thing, this whole debacle happen in 2019, 2020, you had an inside track and boots on the ground experience with these companies, and your red flags immediately started going up.
Exactly. So there was a group of people that came to see me back then. They knew I was a kind of, I had a rebellious mind in science. So they thought, perhaps you will have a rebellious mind against your own government now because of the so-called pandemics. Mm-hmm. And I said, yes, for sure. I will be part of your team. So we've decided to fight against the government at the provincial level and at the federal level in Supreme Court. But guess what happened?
What happened?
Remember Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada?
I do. Did he kick you out?
Yeah, but guess what happened? Before the so-called pandemics, now people would think, he's another punk. But that's the truth. He gave an additional 60% of salary to the judges, the judges in the high courts in Canada, throughout Canada, 60% increase of salary. A few months before the beginning of the pandemic.
Interesting.
Yeah, what a coincidence. And you know what? He told, because I've been told that by people who knew him, you have to grease the wheels sometimes of the system. It was done on purpose to buy, I'm sorry, but to buy the judges throughout Canada. I have to go back to Canada, but I'm on the blacklist anyway. But I have to be protected.
Are you allowed to go back there?
I have the best lawyer in the country.
Oh, okay.
She's the one who contacted me.
That helps.
She said, I'll be your bodyguard in Quebec, but if it doesn't, I would prefer to come in the States because I've worked for years. I don't know. I will say that I'm I'm a refugee from Canada and United States. I don't know if Trump will accept or the governor of could be Florida. If you have a special connection with DeSantis, just let me know. Perhaps not.
No, I have no connection with DeSantis.
Okay, because that would be nice. But you see, yes, I'm on their blacklist, to be honest.
Okay.
I was also chased by, in Quebec, we see College of Medicine. That's like the National Association of Medicine or medical doctors. Very powerful, like lobby in Washington. They have an army of lawyers, and they were trying to bully me by saying, stop talking about healing or self-healing or the influence of spirituality on health, and so because they let me know that they could put me in jail. So I had multiple reasons to leave Canada a few years ago, if you see what I mean. That's why I went to Switzerland, to be truthful.
Right.
And over there, I was not worried too much because I was living in the Alps at 5,200 feet in the air. I was interacting with people at the medical school at the Université de Lausanne, French University, not Swiss German. But over there, they're quite open-minded about. You can talk about healing, self-healing, the influence of spirituality on health, and even in hospitals. Let's say you're dying, you can ask your healer to go to the hospital, and he won't be or she won't be sued legally. They have the right to do that over there.
Where is this?
Switzerland.
Let me ask you this. Do you think the church is still pushing back against this post-materialist worldview?
No, they liked it very much because they said, so they contacted me and they wanted to establish a strategic alliance in 2014 after the publication, and also in 2007 when I published The Spiritual Brain, my first book with HarperCollins here in the States. I was contacted by, that's private detail, let's say by very powerful people in the church, Roman Catholic Church. And they said, we're part of the same, we are allies strategically, because you're introducing the reality of the non-physical and spirituality in science, mainstream science, neuroscience, which is one of the top science in the world with physics. So they said, in reality, we're members of the same gang, Mario.
They're trying to recruit you, Mario.
That's what they did. And you guess what? Now I can tell the truth, but I don't belong to the church anymore, so I don't care. I received a letter from, I won't say whom, but very powerful people in the church. And they say, you will go publicly and you will talk about, they gave me 10 dogmas or 10 beliefs. And in exchange, we'll be in Rome at the Vatican. There's a scientific institute there. You will have money, fame, power, limousines, women, if you will.
Oh, wow.
Or guys, if you will.
Oh, wow.
Or little boys. I'm sorry to say that, but it's true. And
this is the Catholic Church saying this to you?
Yes. Archbishop.
An archbishop.
Washington, D.C. 20 years ago, nearly.
This guy's still alive?
I don't know. I don't know. If he's alive, he won't be happy. But
this guy in the Epstein files?
I don't
Good
know.
Lord.
I don't know. I'm no pedophile. Believe me. To me, children are to be protected, not abused. But that's another subject. But okay, in exchange, they wanted me to go out and say all gay people should go to hell publicly. To use my new influence as a very promising young neuroscientist around the world to say,
We don't want to show this. Don't show this.
oh, no, because it was before. Okay,
Anyways,
but
don't.
I don't want to have trouble legally.
Yeah, we don't want to. We don't want to.
Okay, but no, I don't
put
do
it on
that
the
because
screen.
I will be in deep shit.
No, we're not. Trust me. I don't want any.
And you perhaps because
I don't want to get involved in it.
okay, so we cut this.
No, this won't be on the screen. He won't put it on the screen. This won't be visible.
I
Just
hope
for
they
talking
won't
points.
sue me. That is true. I received an official letter. And
From who? From them. Oh, about the dogmas. About first. Number one was gay people go to hell.
okay. Second, all the women who have had an abortion should go to hell. You will tell that publicly. Second point. Third point. Fourth point. 10 points like this. In exchange, we'll pay you. We'll pay you with riches, with power, influence
Okay.
at the Vatican. That's the pure truth. Look at me, Fem. I'm not a liar. I always.
How
tell
did
the
they
truth.
tell you this?
Through a letter, an official letter.
They wrote you a letter detailing.
Exactly, a long.
So
letter.
you have evidence
Yes, but
that
I
they sent this.
But I threw it to the garbage. Of course, I was offended by that. I said, because when you're spiritual, I was not a Roman Catholic anymore. I considered myself to be, after my mystical experiences, there's no, when you go there and you experience this, it's not about Roman Catholic versus Baptist church versus Pentecostal versus or Buddhist versus Hindu or no, it's about the one, the all. It doesn't have anything to do with official religions.
I just find it hard to believe that the Catholic Church would bribe you, would try to bribe you.
Oh, that's what they-
on paper and mail
That's
it
exactly
to you.
what they did. Yeah, that's true. 2007, after the publication of The Spiritual Brain, which became a bestseller. It's still being sold. It's still taught at certain universities today, nearly 20 years after the publication. So they thought that they could strike a deal with me because I was becoming more influential. That's it. So, before it was Big Pharma, after the Roman Catholic Church, after, we strategically, so I thought that science was supposed to be neutral, objective, about truth. But no, science can be corrupted. And we've seen that during the last few years.
Well, not just.
It's done by humans.
in lots of aspects of science.
Oh, yeah.
Science can be hijacked.
Nobel Prizes can be bought. And that's what, let's say, major institutions do. Let's say they buy Nobel Prizes sometimes. You can find evidence.
That's not surprising.
You can find evidence. Even Nobel Peace Prize, you can buy.
Sure.
And I won't tell, you had a president here who won the Nobel Prize.
Wasn't Bill Gates trying to get that? Wasn't he trying to use like Epstein
Trump
to get him and Trump? Yeah.
But Obama received the Nobel Prize. And what he did, really, before, he killed people.
He killed more people with drones than any person in history.
Exactly. So it's a nonsense. It doesn't make any sense. I'm not saying that because I didn't like him, but let's be truthful here. Let's say
political.
the truth.
It's political and it's financial.
political.
It's all about money.
Yeah, always.
And same thing with science. Whether you're talking about
Danny, can we take a 5-minute break?
Sure. We're back. I wanted to ask you, does the church, after they tried to bribe you and get you to work with them, and you said no, since the Dark Ages, has the church been successfully influential in science and keeping this, keeping the consensus of material science strong and trying to keep the post-materialist view in more of a woo-woo type?
No.
Okay.
No, they like it. because that's why they wanted to team up with me and my colleagues, because they realized that in some way it's supporting their own religious view of the world, that there's also a non-physical component in the universe. There's not only matter. So they're seeing that it's a new form of science, this post-materialist science, that really helps their cause somehow.
Why don't you think there's more money spent on this stuff when there's how much money is being spent to build the new Large Hadron Collider? They're building one that's like 20 times the size or something. Like insane amounts of money.
I know. You could solve the poverty problem around the world, the hunger problem, but it shows you that, like you said at the beginning of the interview, the materialist worldview is dominant to us, again, to a certain extent. But I think that because I've been all over the world. I've traveled all over the world during the last 4 decades. And I can tell you the difference now in terms of the perception of even major institutions. You see, the post-materialist doesn't mean anything. It's only it marks a historical transition between dominant worldview, materialism, physicalism, and something else. But the something else is compatible with spirituality and religions as well. But you see, when I started as a young man and I was daring to challenge the materialist worldview, for instance, I've had all sorts of experience. People they wanted to attack me physically because it was very emotional. So, for instance, I went to the most famous university in Paris, in France, La Sorbonne in Paris. It's like their Harvard. And they asked me to talk about how I saw the relationship between the brain and consciousness. They gave me 2 hours at the university. And over there, it's the old world. So they don't do things like in the US or in Canada. There were very famous, very old scientists, like guys in their 80s or 90 years old. And they had to discuss publicly my lecture at the end of the lecture. And they were very influential people, but materialist, atheist. So they listened. And there was the president of the committee, and his face was changing. He was turning red all the time. This pressure was mounting. And when I finished at the end, he said publicly, "Too bad that we're not 200 years before." And so I played the innocent guy. I said, "What would you have done with me 200 years ago?" And the people were laughing in the room, but they were on my side, the students.
Right.
And he said, he was 85 years old. He said, "We would have killed you, my friend." But I said, "Unfortunately, you cannot do anything now, pal." And I'm sure his pressure was 300. He was about to explode.
Yeah.
He said, "You're a cocky son of a bitch from Quebec, Canada." But people were loving me because I dared challenge. It was 17 years ago. But he said, and when we left the room, everybody at the same time, he had his disciples who wanted to attack me physically, who were trying to bully me. Let's go outside and we'll kick your ass, man. But they were 50 against 1.
About a year ago, I got hit with a text for an unpaid toll. Then when I finally went to pay it, I realized it was a scam. That would have never happened with Cash App because they stress transfers with trusted individuals, which is why I use Cash App. Your security deserves to be a priority, and Cash App treats it that way. With Security Lock, Cash App requires a successful Face ID or biometric authentication to access your account. It's like your money is protected by your own personal bodyguard, even if your phone is lost or stolen. Plus, if you're about to send money to somebody new and Cash App notices something looks a bit off or that you might be falling for a scam, it will send you a warning before the money is sent to confirm that everything looks okay. Turn on Security Lock in your Cash App settings today and pay attention to scam warnings and keep your money safe. Learn more at cash.app/security. Moving money should be simple, but it should also be safe. And that's why I like using Cash App. For a limited time, new Cash App customers can earn $10 if they use the code SECURE10 in their profile at sign up and send $5 to a friend within 14 days. Terms apply. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App Bank Partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Discounts and promotions provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures. The day I first put on a pair of Chubby's trunks, I realized life is too short for uncomfortable clothing. I mean, why not wear something that puts you in a dangerously good mood? Their shorts have just the slightest amount of give, which I think is perfect. It's soft and effortless. And their swim trunks are my favorite. They dry super fast, so I can go from cannonballs to beach bars in a splash. And my favorite part is the built-in boxer brief liner. These aren't grade school trunks. They're trunks the way they should be. Their 4-way stretch molds to the shape of your legs, and it doesn't feel easy to tear. Chubbies make swim trunks so comfy and modern that it has to be something engineered by NASA. I'm talking wild prints so fun that your trunks themselves will get the party started, and liners that prevent chafing and uncomfortable pinches. It's like the technology in this shorts was sent here from the future. And with 2.6 million sold, Chubbies knows how to keep thighs happy. And now, Chubbies is celebrating 15 years. Their original shorts that redefined proper length are back. For a limited time, Chubbies is giving our lucky listeners 20% off with the code Danny at chubbiesshorts.com. That's 20% off your order with the code Danny. Give your thighs the VIP treatment they deserve with Chubbies. Support the show and tell them we sent you. Explain. Okay, I want to hear about this study that you did on the Carmelite nuns.
Oh, yeah.
How did that come about?
Crazy story. Because of what I had experienced earlier in my life, and I told you about these experiences, I wondered what would happen if we would scan cloistered nuns, contemplative nuns, like masters of contemplation, like Buddhist monks. What would we see in the brain during using an fMRI scanner and electrical activity, like using what we call electroencephalography? So we had 2 studies. When they reach a state of what they call union with God, a contemplative state of union with God, in their own words, according to their belief system. So I went to see the what in English I think we say the prioress of the convent, and you cannot meet with them because they are behind walls. You cannot see the prioress. You can talk to her through structures like that. You cannot approach her physically. So she said, "Young man, what do you want? Why are you here? Why are you here? We don't like men in the convent. We're women. We don't like guys here. What do you do here?" I said, "I want to ask you the permission for you to participate in a great scientific experiment." She said, "What? Are you crazy?" She was about 80 years old. "What?" She said, "We don't participate. We pray all day, all night. We don't leave convents. We're cloistered. You don't understand what it means."
I want to study your brain, lady.
No, I said, no, not that way. I said, I want to see what's happening when you connect with God in your brain. That's different. And she said, "We cannot do that. The Pope won't allow us." I said, "You don't have to tell him." She said, "Young man, you don't respect the authority of the church." I didn't tell her about my previous story.
I'm not one of those naughty nuns, Mario.
But she said, "No, it's no. Go, no. Hey, take the young man outside of the convent, please." So I said, "Hey, I'm very, I don't accept no. Never accept no for an answer. I'll be back, lady. She said, no, you won't. The door will be closed next time for you. But guess what? The next week, I was there again and again and again for 3 months. Mm-hmm. And at the end, she said, she didn't say, fuck, of course. But she said, I'm tired of seeing you, man. Okay, we'll accept. That's how it started.
So how did you conduct it? What was the goal? What was this? Explain.
Okay, the goal was very simple. I said, you do not control when you have mystical experience, right? Even if you pray for 6 hours, you don't have automatically a mystical experience because you pray for 6 hours straight. She said, yes, it's grace God, according to their belief system. So she said, but we could do something else. And I said, could you try to reenact a mystical experience by praying, let's say, in a lab for 30 minutes, and we scan you, and you feel, when you tell us, I feel like I'm in a mystical state, maybe not directly. And she said, yes, we could do that. So that's what we did. So they were in a room, and the scanner was not far. And
what kind of scanner? What type of scanner?
3 Tesla fMRI.
Oh, fMRI. Okay.
3 Tesla Siemens. Do you want more technical detail? From Germany, from Germany, University of Montreal. I was back then. I was the assistant to the director of the neuroimaging center. Oh, wow. So they were trying to condition themselves like it's the Olympics, Winter Olympics right now. So like athletes. They visualize before the downhill or yeah. So the nuns were doing exactly the same thing, alone in a room, and I had a research assistant who was checking with them, and when they were saying, "Okay, I feel that I'm okay," we put them in the scanner and we were starting to scan. For the EEG experiment, it was easier because it's a cap that you don't have to. There's no scanner, so they close their eyes and they.
How long did it take?
For the scanner, it was
no, for them to reach their mystical state.
Oh, they were alone for at least 30 minutes.
Okay,
but they are used to pray all the time, so they can enter into that state.
Sure,
it's like you're a race car driver. You're used to go to the Indy 500. You close your eyes for a few minutes, and you feel that you're ready to roll, or a boxer, or
like a flow state.
Yeah, so that's exactly the same. And so when they were saying start scanning, we were start rolling, and that's what we did. And guess what we found? Everybody, the materialist neurologists around the world were saying, sometimes when you meet with epileptic patients and they have a seizure, the origin of the seizures can be a tumor, or the lesions are in the temporal lobe, right above the ears, or beside.
Sure.
1% of the patients report mystical experiences during the seizures.
During the seizures.
During the actual seizure, the grand mal, and when they they move, but 1%. No, it's not that much, but it must mean something. So based on this, neurologists around the world, materialist neurologists, of course, back then said, it means that the electrical micro seizures or big seizures in the temporal lobe creates spiritual experiences in everybody on planet Earth. This is an illusion, a delusion, an electrochemical storm that creates the impression that you are actually connecting with God or the one, the all. It's only an illusion. And when I heard that when I was young, I said, because of my own experience, I said, they don't know what they're talking about, these neurologists. I won't say their name here because...
So was this study published with the nuns?
Of course, it circulated around the world. And as soon, that was part of it. As soon as it was published, I started receiving phone calls from science journalists around the world on nonstop for like days. I had to. They had my phone number at home, and they were calling me.
Close out of this, Steve. I want to see the paper.
Yeah, but you can see there's a picture of the prioress that was published. Yeah, but that's not the most interesting. It was published in the Ottawa newspaper
There you go.
Yeah, that's the actual scientific
this is
paper.
the- this is
That's
the
one of the
PubMed
papers.
paper.
That's the EEG. That's not the fMRI study.
Okay.
And she had and journalists managed to took a picture of the prioress without her consent. In the university, they heard about something crazy like that. So a journalist managed to enter the University of Montreal and snap a picture of the nuns who was sitting on.
No way. Is this online?
The picture is online. It's if you enter Carmelite nuns.
Is that it right there?
No, she's old. She was. Enter my name with. It's
Sorry,
part
we don't
of
need it.
the
Don't
a film called The Mystical Brain, National Film Board of Canada in 2007.
Have you heard of the John Hopkins study?
Oh, yeah. With drugs, you mean?
Yes.
Yes.
On religious professionals.
Yes. I knew the guy, Roland Griffiths.
You
He's
knew
deceased.
Roland Griffiths.
He's a famous neuroscientist.
Wow.
Yes.
That study is wild. So I guess what they did was they took religious professionals from different religions,
Yes.
gave them psilocybin, I believe.
Yes. Exactly.
And their goal was to prove some sort of common core to all religions, perennialism.
Exactly. But it first started, it was the Good Friday experiment in 1962, the first experiment. They reproduced it.
Oh, I haven't heard of that one.
Okay. The first one was guided by the great scholar of religion, Houston Smith. He participated in it as a subject. And it was conducted by a Harvard guy named Walter Pankey, the researcher. He liked mysticism. He was a friend of Houston Smith and others.
Yeah.
He died, the poor guy, because he loved, going deep in the ocean. And he never came back once.
Free diving.
Yeah. In the Atlantic. His girlfriend was waiting for him, and he never came back on the beach. Never came back. So that's how he ended. He was young man. And so they did the original experiment, and the goal was to see. So you had Houston Smith, but you had scientists, physicists, all kinds of people representing society at large, but mostly in the academic world. And they wanted to see, is it possible to induce a full-blown mystical experience using this stuff? And it did. You see, Houston Smith, the great scholar, became Houston Smith because he did this experiment. He told that himself.
What was the difference between his experiment and the John Hopkins study?
Pretty
Same
much
exact thing?
Same thing. Yeah.
And what was the results?
It's the people have the experience, and I took several of these compounds because I was testing them on rodents at first.
Psilocybin?
All of them. Okay. LSD, coke, amphetamine. I had all of them tested.
Wow.
I was a neuropharmacologist and a student in neuropharmacology. So I tested all the drugs on the planet, ketamine, and so on and so forth. And when I did that, I decided, well, I don't know what's happening to the rat in her experience. So I wondered, I think I'd like to know what I'm injecting to them. But of course, the inner experience of a rat is not the same as of a human being.
Sure.
But I felt compelled by obligation because I didn't want to hurt them, but we were killing them after each experiment, unfortunately. Yet, I thought that you don't have the right to alter the chemistry of a living organism if you don't know what it's doing. So guess what? I decided to start doing all of them, these drugs. But
Jesus.
my directors in the lab, they said, everything is controlled by the government here. So they know the quantities. So if drug disappears from the lab, we'll know who took the drug. So they warned me.
How come in Mario's lab, all the cocaine's gone?
Amphetamines and all of them. Yeah, exactly. So guess what I did? I decided to go on the black market in Montreal And I tried everything. I bought everything. I tried.
You got to be careful on the black market.
I know, but I was lucky.
Pharmaceutical grade.
I've been lucky.
Yeah, that's good.
So
So have I.
Now I'm talking by experience. I know all what they do, and I've tried them several times. So you talk to a guy who has lots of psychedelic experience here, because I wanted to see, is it possible to have a full-blown mystical experience using this way, the shamanic way, if you will, instead of it's given to you by spiritual powers,
Right.
like I experienced
Right.
younger. And I can tell you, yes, it's the same.
Okay, so let's go back
Okay?
to consciousness and the psyche.
Yes.
First of all, can you how do you define the human psyche? What is the psyche to you?
It's one level of reality through which you interact with what we call the world at large. And the world for a human being, through our nervous system and our senses, it is apprehended in two fashions, two manners. Physically, so it seems solid, and non-physically as thoughts, emotions, memories, and so on. That seems non-physical. We cannot see them. The thoughts, for instance, we cannot weight them. Do they have colors? We don't see that. But thoughts, even if they are non-physical, they are informational. And now we will talk a bit about information, because now we are using more and more information to explain everything that is going on in the universe at all levels: cosmological, astrophysical, physical, and physics. Well, quantum physics, it's information related to consciousness, intention, attention. You have biology, you have the brain. The brain is connected to all the major physiological systems, the immune system, the endocrine system. So the brain, or the body, you have 37 trillion cells in the human body on average. It's a huge informational system, complex, non-linear, dynamical. It's a flow of information. So a thought, and that's my own model that I have developed. And by the end of this year, I will have published my general theory of information in the universe. It will be like my relativity theory.
Okay.
And that will be the last important thing that I will do in my life. And grand theory that can explain everything at all levels. Information. Before information in the universe, you have consciousness with an uppercase letter. Uppercase C.
Okay.
Consciousness for God, but we're not allowed to use God in our equation. So we say now scientists are they accept now that we can talk of consciousness with a uppercase C. See?
That's kind of hard to swallow for people.
Physics,
Yeah.
they are the new physics, quantum physics. The 5 guys who created quantum physics were mystics. Planck, Max Planck, Niels Bohr, Heisenberg, Schrödinger, and Wolfgang Pauli. They were 5 mystics. And they fought the old physics for 30 years before it was accepted. So there was a transition between the old classical physics and the new physics that was called quantum mechanics from 1899 to 1930, around 1930. So at the beginning in physics, these guys, people were saying they're crazy.
Right.
Even Albert Einstein, the great Einstein, said, no.
These guys are kooks.
No, because relativity is part of classical physics, not quantum mechanics. And he was refusing the insights of quantum mechanics for most of his life, till almost the end. He sent letters to Niels Bohr. He was friendly with Bohr, and Bohr was telling him, "You're wrong, Albert. You're too old. You don't understand the new physics, man." Because Einstein wrote about spooky effects at distance. He didn't like that because it's like magic.
Right.
And Albert was he was a genius, but yet he was a conservative physicist person. He had a classical mind. He didn't like quantum entanglement and stuff like that. He didn't feel at ease with these concepts. But at the end, before his death, he said to the younger physicist, the quantum physicist, "You were right, guys. I was wrong." And he died. He accepted, finally.
So uppercase C, consciousness.
Okay, consciousness. So consciousness precedes information. It uses information throughout the universe at various levels.
Okay.
So we have multiple types of information. Information that allows to construct universes, physical universes. So we have, for instance, around 15 cosmological constraints, variables, like gravity, electromagnetic forces, and so on and so forth. You cannot deviate by 1 0 out of 10 zeros, 15 zeros after the point, comma, because
Thermodynamics.
exactly, because there won't be any world, life, consciousness. So consciousness precedes everything, but it uses information. Information comes from a Latin
So
word.
consciousness is fundamental.
Yes, in the post-materialist worldview.
Yes.
Consciousness guides information, use information, creates information, and information comes from a Latin word. It means informare. It guides. It forms stuff. So it means that it guides energy.
Okay.
And matter eventually. Matter is a more dense form of energy, if you will, at how could we say, physicists would say lower levels of oscillations, vibrations.
Okay.
Mathematical oscillations. No, I'm not talking about New Age stuff here. No.
Okay.
Mathematical oscillations. So it's the model that I propose, and it means that you have and the theory
Do
do
you have like illustrations of this stuff?
not yet, but by the end of the year, yes, I will. We'll stay in touch.
Yeah.
I'll come back.
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
explain,
I would love to have you back.
because this theory can explain almost anything in the universe. It will be huge. And I was in Tunisia last week, and I started to show it to a few scientists. There was a physicist there, and he said, yeah, information now is the key to almost everything. And information can guide energy. So, when people take, especially in...
Can you drill down a little bit more on what exactly is information?
It's non-physical. So it's something that, you have information, for instance, in the software that guides the operations of your computer. This is informatics.
So if I upload,
for instance,
this podcast video to a hard drive,
yes,
it's encoding the hard drive in ones and zeros, which is all a chaotic soup of ones and zeros.
Exactly.
But when you plug in a TV or a computer monitor to that hard drive,
yes,
it turns it into this meaningful projection of a video.
Yeah, like what we're doing, what we're discussing, it will become for the future viewers information.
Right. Okay.
But you have information, social types of information, physical types of information, biological information, neural information, chemical information, genetic information.
Got it.
Okay? Various levels of information.
Got it.
So, for instance, when you think about something, it's a thought. It's abstract, non-physical. Let's say you're thinking about what you're going to do tonight. For instance, you want to watch sport, or whatever. Or you have to go back to your family. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Okay? So this information, because it's mental processes are information. Okay? Memory, you think, it is information linked to your past. Anticipation about what you're going to do tonight, it is information related to the possible future. And so on and so forth. So your thought is translated in the brain electrically and chemically.
But okay.
Okay, so you're taught, I'm going to watch the lightning, for instance, or the box we're doing then, is translated and into dopamine. If you like NFL, it will increase the level of dopamine in your brain because you like following the box, for instance. Or I like following the Montreal Canadiens in the NHL. Mm-hmm. Okay, and so it's a translation, and I call that a psychoneural translation in 2007. So it means that your psyche, we come back to the psyche. Mm-hmm. The psyche is the center where you experience the world physically and mentally. And the psyche transforms your informational processes, your thoughts, for instance, into electrical and chemical activity in the brain. And because the brain is connected to all the major physiological systems, this means that what's going on at that level, the thought, is translated not only electrically and chemically in the brain, but into hormones,
right,
into gene expression, epigenetics, at all levels in your trillions of cells. Do you follow me?
Yes.
Okay. Is it simple enough?
Yes. Yeah, I understand it.
Okay.
My question is, where do the thoughts come from?
My good question. We don't know yet.
Where do you think?
What I think, based on my own mystical experience, like I told you, I am. I believe that I am part of the all, the one, and the one, the all, has a psyche of its own, not her, or there's a cosmic psyche for the one, guiding the development of universes, creating worlds, and so on. I'm talking about God, if you will.
Okay.
The great designer, consciousness with an uppercase C. And you do exactly the same thing.
This is like a universal consciousness you're talking about?
Yes. Okay. And you're part of the universal consciousness, whether you know it or not. And there's a part of your unconscious mind that I've called I developed based on my own research and my own experiences. I've developed a psycho-spiritual approach called Holosynthesis. Holos, it's the all. And the synthesis is going back to the all by reconciliating all the various aspects of your being, humanity. It means cognitively, intellectually, emotionally, socially, and spiritually. So in Holosynthesis, what I do, and I'm helped by a young woman in France. Well, she's from France originally, but she lives in Switzerland, and she has a master's in positive psychology. Do you know what positive psychology is? It's a branch of psychology that does not focus on the dirt, the toxic stuff, the dark stuff, only on qualities, attributes of the one, so joy, love, unconditional spiritual love, beauty, harmony, order, pleasure. That's positive psychology. It was created by a guy who studied that's funny because Martin Seligman was a great psychologist, researcher at University of Pennsylvania for decades. And he was the president of the APA, American Psychological Association, for years. He was one of the most influential psychologists in the world, a researcher. And he's the guy who devised when there's a rat trying to save its life in water, swimming for how long? 36 hours. That's cruel. He's the guy who devised the experiment. And at a certain point, when he saw the rats dying,
giving up,
he decided that he was a bad guy. He felt bad for doing this kind of experiments. Mm-hmm. And he had like an insight, I don't know, coming from above, perhaps.
Right.
Why don't you study positive things instead of stuff like that? Martin
Right.
And Martin decided that he would, from now on, create positive psychology. He's the guy who proposed the term.
Interesting.
Positive. So he said, I apologize for everything I've done cruel during the first part of my research career.
Right.
Martin Seligman is known. I don't know if he's still. I think he's still alive, but he may be old now. But he must be retired. But he's the guy who created this. But it was based on the works of. Do you know the Maslow with his pyramid? The
Yes.
human needs.
Yes.
Maslow was one of the founders of transpersonal psychology, spiritual psychology, with Stanislas Grof, a Czech psychiatrist, the guy who created psychedelic therapy, assisted therapy. Grof came from, because he fled communism in the 60s, came to work in Maryland at the NIMH, National Institute of Mental Health, and he started the psychedelic clinical program in the United States. He was allowed to do that for a few years.
Fritz Grof.
And then Nixon came and he said, we stop everything. Grof, who is one of the father of transpersonal psychology and positive psychology, decided to create with his wife then what they call holotropic breathwork.
Yeah.
Have you heard about this?
Yes.
He said, we can access expanded states of consciousness without using drugs. He was using mainly LSD. We'll be able, based on his observations, his findings, to reach similar states to a large extent. And he did that. And it's true. Because you will alter brain chemistry and electrical activity by changing your breathing pattern. So he's another guy, Maslow, Grof, and you had other luminaries of psychology. They were there. You also have a guy that's called Ken Wilber, an influential philosopher. He was a biochemist at first, and he became a philosopher. So you had people like that before Seligman, but Seligman, in reality, what he did, he took the traditional values of religion and spirituality, and he converted them in psychology as a program, research program. So he did not really. He just felt bad for his rats dying day after day after day in his lab at a certain point. And he felt better when he decided that he would, from now on, study positive psychology. And people liked him much better for positive, because before they considered that he was acting as like an Nazi, because it's cruel to do what he was doing. But it's cruel to do what I was doing, killing rats after each experiment, my own experiments. And I feel bad today for having done this.
Why did you have to kill them?
Because we had to do surgery to go deep in their brains to inject. We were using a technique that is called micro electrophoresis, and we use electrical currents to repel the molecules, and it's basic chemistry. But their brains, they were done after that, so we could not bring them back. So I had to kill them with an overdose of drug after each experiment. And I was playing with the rat before the actual experiment. And so after a year, I started to feel really bad because my father was a farmer. He was born in 1926, a century ago, and he was a tough cookie. With no, he told me when I was young, I was asking him, why do you kill animals? He said, how are we going to live otherwise? We have to kill your friends, the pigs, the cows, because find me money. That's what he told me, if you don't want me to kill.
Right.
And I said, I don't know what to do. But he said, you see, you're too sensitive, my son, way too sensitive. You should be a real man. And he showed me, because he killed in front of me a beef, 2,000 pounds, like that, packs with a gun, and he sliced his throat in front of me. I was 8 years old, and I saw the blood, the river of blood, and he looked at me. That's a man. I looked at him. That's a man, really? You don't have any heart? He said, no. We live in survival mode on planet Earth, my friend. He went to school 4 years only. So he said, no, you have to become a tough guy. Otherwise, you won't make it on this planet of crazy people. You don't have a chance if you don't become a warrior.
Right.
So that's how he trained me, by beating me up at 7, 8, 9. And he was bigger than I am. I can tell you, I still have the scar, the stroma, today. It was 50-some years ago.
Oh, wow.
And you never forget this, because I won't tell you all the details, but that's why I became a rebel in life, a revolutionary, because I was against all forms of authority. I still am today at 63 years old. And I became a warrior. He showed me, he said, you don't have the choice. I'm hitting you, you have to hit back, or I'm going to kill you.
What do you, or what are you aware of that is going on at like the cutting edge of this type of research?
Which
like consciousness research?
Consciousness, now we increasingly more around the world, I can tell you that we accept, more and more scientists are switching. You know, they like, I don't know if you know Christoph Koch. He was the disciple of Francis Crick. He's the director of the Allen Institute in Seattle. He was, because I think now he retires. Christoph Koch is one of the great neuroscientists around the world. And I was telling him a long time ago, you're wrong, man. You're a materialist. You're teaching false stuff to people. That's what I was an angry young man against all these people, because they were teaching us false stuff. And they were all telling me back then, you're crazy, Mario. You're crazy. You're a wild man from Quebec in the United States. That's what they were telling me. You're wrong. We've been teaching that for hundreds of years. And I was saying, you've been wrong for hundreds of years. I know that I'm right because I have had experiences. And they were telling me, poor little boy, an idealist, prove us that we're wrong. That's what they were telling me. We challenge you. At the University of Montreal, in Houston, in Tucson, it was a different story, because over there, there was the first center on consciousness created in 1995. This place is different because it's surrounded by native people like me, Navajos, Zunis, Apaches, and it's like if the scientists there, they don't have too much problem with a mystical view of life.
Right.
For whatever reason. So I was invited. They expelled me at the University of Montreal, as you can guess, because I was refusing to work with Big Pharma. So before I got tenured, they decided to expel me. 2013. It was a total disaster. I lost everything back then, because they told me, you didn't want to listen when the boss of the medical school was telling you for years, establish a partnership with Big Pharma. You did not. Now you will pay the price.
Well, I would imagine that there would be a stagnation in this kind of research.
There is, because right now, I would say, because I can compare at first when people were trying to attack me versus now, and I'm not the only one representing this post-materialist movement, because there are now scientists all over the world in physics since.
But they can't get funding, right? There's no money for this kind of stuff.
It's starting. Yes, it is. Now
who's
in Switzerland? It's possible. That's why I was there, among other things.
What type of institutions are funding this kind of research?
Rich people, private foundations who've had spiritual experiences. Like I was first funded with the nuns. Guess who funded me the first? Mr. John Templeton of the John Templeton Foundation, created at the end of the 90s. This man was 103 years old when he died. And he was the guy who created how do you call that? The private funding for your future at the end of your life.
Social Security?
No, but private investments in
like retirement accounts, or
or if you just
Franklin
want.
Templeton. Are we talking about Franklin Templeton? Like the
This man, and this guy was born in Kentucky or Tennessee they were poor, so poor that he was traumatized to don't have money when he was young, and he decided that when he was going to be an adult, he would become rich. And he did. So he became a billionaire. And this is the guy who first funded my strange research.
Wow.
He believed in me. And he gave me, for the nuns, he gave his foundation, not him personally, but he gave me $100,000 US in 1999.
Wow.
It was big back then.
And what did you do with those funds?
What we discussed about.
You did the nun study?
Exactly. And that's why, and then when I published this thing, I became famous worldwide. Mm-hmm. That's what happened. Because of he became a Sir John Templeton.
What other types of studies did you do that were maybe similar or connected to the nun study?
Near-death studies about clinical death. Near-death studies, but in reality, not near-death. Actual death studies.
Oh.
Clinical.
Who were clinically dead.
Exactly.
And then coming back to life.
I went to a major hospital in Montreal to team up with a team of surgeons, cardiothoracic surgeons, cardiologists, and so on and so forth. And I discovered a case of a woman who was clinically dead because they were replacing aorta, the big heart rate.
Yeah.
And she was young, but it was blocked. And so she was clinically dead for about 18 minutes. You know, so the blood becomes very cold because they want hypothermia to protect your cells in your body. And while she was really dead for 18 minutes, she saw the surgical instruments that were hidden when she entered the room, and she was sleeping anyway when she was wheeled into the room. But all the instruments were hidden even when she entered the room. But she reported what the surgeon told to the nurses, and so on and so forth. So I took notes of everything. I checked the files of the doctors over there, and there was a perfect match. I checked the instruments, talked to the surgeon, and so on and so forth. And I concluded that, but it was not a discovery. It was only a confirmation of what Raymond Moody had discovered decades, because he first published a book in 1974, I think, or 75, about the afterlife. And he became famous worldwide. But these people, in the cases reported by Moody, people were not clinically dead. They were near death. In my case, I wanted clinical death to make sure that the critics wouldn't say, oh, but she was not really dead.
Right.
In her case, she was dead. I can tell you that. I proved it.
There was a woman, I had a gentleman on the show.
Pam Reynolds.
I had a gentleman on the show a couple of years back.
Okay.
Who wrote a book about a woman who was struck by lightning outside of her.
I don't know this case.
Yeah, his name is Jeffrey Kripal. He's the one who wrote the book.
Oh, yeah. He's a scholar.
Yeah,
he's
a religious studies guy.
Yeah. I've read these books.
Yeah, and it was a fascinating story. She was walking into her synagogue, and she was holding her umbrella and with her two children, and she got struck by lightning.
Wow.
And she was unconscious for, it was less than 10 minutes. And she explained weeks where she had an experience that lasted weeks, where she was in a garden having conversations with dead relatives and giving her the option to go with them or to go back to her. Right. And she had this out-of-body experience where she saw her body on the ground, saw her kids, saw the doctors in the synagogue rushing out to help her.
Yes.
And she eventually decided to go back to her physical body. And it was the time
didn't fit.
didn't fit because she was only unconscious for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, but you don't have I've had a near-death experience, so the actual perception of time in the other worlds is not at all controlled by the clock. It's not linear time like we have on planet Earth.
And there's many fascinating accounts of these types of experiences, right? But my problem is like, it's interesting. It seems real, although it's subjective. You can't measure it. You can't prove it. You can't prove it.
No.
I can understand why some billionaires would want to throw money at this types of research, but the problem is, what do you do with it?
You know, it's to alter the beliefs about the possibility of the afterlife. Templeton, that was his goal.
Sure, but the world we live in, science is funded because we want to figure out how to build this into applications that are going to serve profitable companies so they can sell stuff, right?
Yes.
Or so they can...
Applied science.
Right, applied science, right? Apply it to industry.
Yes.
And how do you can't really do that with this kind of stuff, can you?
I did.
You can write books.
No. I told you about my, I devised, based on all this research, my own experience, the experience of other people, other research by other researchers. I devised a psychospiritual approach called Holosynthesis. This is the applied response, applied science response. So can we talk a bit about this? Okay, a few minutes. So when I did the experiment with my research team about the Carmelites, and after that, near-death experiencers, I studied, to come back to your question, I studied, after the nuns, I studied near-death experiencers who claim to be still in contact with, they don't use the word God, they use the light, or the light.
So after they come back to their physical bodies, they still are somehow connected to that.
Yes. Like the nuns are saying they're connected to God. But the light, God, you know, Buddhists have another term, doesn't matter. So we investigated them using fMRI and EEG, the same experiment. And guess what we found? The same neural networks are activated or deactivated. It's the same. So doesn't matter whether you talk about God, the source, the light, the void, like in Buddhism, or because they don't have a personalized God. In Hinduism, they talk about Brahman. Doesn't matter, because when you look at the brain, it's the same thing, the same circuits, the same brain regions, the same. And so I realized that. And also the brain waves. What happens? When you go back, you for instance, clinical death, if you are recording actual electrical activity in the brain, the frequency falls to 0. The real death, clinical death. No more brain activity, no heart activity, no breathing anymore. This is the definition of clinical death. Whether it lasts for a few minutes or 20 minutes, doesn't matter. It is clinical death, considered neurologically clinical death. So based on this finding, the frequency is 0. And in my experience with the nuns and then after the near-death experiencers, the closest they were to God or the light or the void, in the case of the Buddhist monks, a few Buddhist monks, they were near 0. The frequency was, it was low theta waves. Theta ranges from 4 to 7 hertz. And delta waves, the lowest band frequency, from 0.5 when you're living to 4. 3.5, 4. So what's the trick if you want to expand your consciousness? Because the brain is like, when it functions normally, on average, it is a jail, a neural prison. And you want to escape it. If you want to access reality with an uppercase R. Because normally, you're programmed biologically for what? Survival, sex, hunger. You're thirsty. You need to move. That's the the biological programmation, information of the normal state.
Evolution.
Presently, yes. But even presently, we can go beyond these limitations. During near-death experience, you take psychedelic drugs. Sometimes, depends. Sometimes it turns to nightmare in some people. So I cannot say here to all the viewers, take psychedelic drug. No. In certain case, you don't want to do that.
Right.
If you suffer from psychosis, you suffer from personality disorders, it's risky. You suffer from certain things, don't do that. But you suffer from anxiety, yes. Suffer from depression, yes. It depends of your pattern.
Or if you habitually use this stuff and abuse it, it can have a very negative effect.
Exactly. Oh, yes. And, people who love psychedelics, they will say, well, yes, but it's not toxic at all. You could take a ton of mushrooms and you won't die, which is true, but you may destroy your psyche if you do that.
Right.
Mentally. Perhaps you won't come back from this. If the problem is that sometimes people do not know that they are genetically predisposed to psychotic states. They don't know yet. So they will take 2 grams, 3 grams, 4 grams, and then it's too late. It's a major mistake. They don't know in advance. So when they do assisted LSD therapy, for instance, like in Switzerland, now they have over 40 clinics in Switzerland. It's the largest number yet. It's beginning in the States, in Canada a bit, in France slowly.
With what type of psychedelic? Psilocybin?
Psilocybin, okay. LSD, ketamine.
The MAPS thing has been trying to get off the ground here forever.
Oh, yeah, I know. Rick Dublin.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know. I've been following. I was involved. I was a neuropharmacologist. But I was testing it.
There's a crazy shadow war behind the scenes of groups trying to shut it down and trying to push it.
Yeah, I know. But Big Pharma doesn't like it because they cannot deposit patents on natural stuff.
Right.
So again, they don't want it to replace antidepressant drugs, anti-anxiety drugs. They make billions every year using. So they don't want to lose this portion of the market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because if everybody all of a sudden realize that, hey, I don't need antidepressant drugs anymore. I can take natural stuff under the guidance of psychiatrists or people formed to guide. I'm not saying shamans, but shamans, they've been trained in their own culture. But let's say you want to do it legally, from a legal point of view. So you go, like in Switzerland, you ask the permission of your doctor, and you will be allowed. If you suffer really from clinical depression, you have anxiety disorders, PTSD, like the vets coming back from Afghanistan or whatever, Iraq, yes, you're allowed to do it. But if you're a normal person, you don't suffer from any pathologies, and you want to do psychedelics in Switzerland, you have to go underground. And the same thing in the United States, same thing, except if you're a recognized church, like in New Mexico, I think, you have the right, because it's a cultural right, because they were doing this for millennia, before even the creation of the United States. So the government cannot tell them, stop taking these things. Hey, they were there way before, millennia before. So in Canada, it's the same deal. Yeah, there's a church from Brazil in Montreal, and the people are allowed because the government is recognizing that. They've been doing that forever. So
there's groups, there's religious groups, or not. I wouldn't even say groups. There's individuals in the United States that have been trying to push for the use of psychedelics in the Catholic Church.
In the Catholic Church?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yes. To try to revitalize Christianity in the West. If they were able to introduce psychedelics to the church fathers and let them give that to the followers or the people that are attending church, maybe this would have some sort of a resurgence. But I could see that could be a very, very dangerous idea.
Yeah, and I suppose the Pope does not agree with that because.
Well, there's an individual who tried to get the Pope to get on board with this.
Oh yeah, what is the name of the person? Do you know? Because I will check. I will.
Yeah. Well, there's a
or the group or
there's a book. Have you ever heard of the book called The Immortality Key?
No.
It's all about the Eleusinian mysteries in ancient Greece and the Temple of Eleusis.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I heard about the temple.
Yeah, and there was a study that was done on the wine that was that was consumed.
Wasson,
during Gordon Wasson and Albert Hoffman.
Yes.
There was a book done, and Carl Ruck, who's a classicist. They did a book called The Road to Eleusis.
Oh, okay. I see.
So this is by a guy named Travis Kitchens, who's been on the show before.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, the Pope met an emissary from the psychedelic world at a holy meeting at the Vatican, where the Jesuit lawyer named Brian Marescu presented Pope Francis with a manifesto for a psychedelic new reformation.
Okay.
And there's a photo of him presenting his book to the Pope.
It was the previous Pope. Yeah.
Yeah. So that guy Brian Marescu, he's a lawyer and a book author.
Oh yeah.
Who wrote this book all about, it was basically like kind of a spin-off of that Wasson book with Wasson and Ruck about Eleusis. And the idea was how we could follow that framework to revive religion in the West.
I think it would be a good idea, honestly, except for the counterindications for some people, as I said previously, because of clinical antecedents but
one of the concerns that I think is obvious is that if you have people who are attending church and you have one guy who has the direct line to God and now he's giving his congregation psychedelic drugs,
that creates a problem.
Yes
I know, but in an ideal world we should go there eventually. I would love that, but we're not there yet. Far from it. Because in reality, can we talk about this?
Yes.
Because the goal here, my new book, Awakening the Human Robot, the ultimate goal is to make people understand that they are behaving like robots most of the time. They are programmed through their beliefs coming from various human institutions. We talked about religion, but it's the same with politics. Sorry, Democrats and Republicans. I'm not into politics. Or conservatives versus liberals, like in Canada, same thing. It's based on beliefs, ideologies. No absolute proof there. It's different ways of seeing the world. It's the same in economics, like capitalism versus socialism versus communism versus spiritual anarchists like me or
spiritual anarchists.
Yeah, the word exists.
That's great.
The great Russian writer Leo Tolstoy created a community. Imagine, long time ago, and he termed himself a spiritual anarchist. Anarchy, the real term, doesn't mean destruction and chaos. It means we rebuild back better. Not like Klaus Schwab at the World Economic Forum. No, based on spiritual laws. That the great Leo Tolstoy taught about this. Gandhi was a spiritual anarchist. Many famous people are spiritual. Anarchy doesn't mean destruction. This word has received a negative connotation, but originally that's not what it means. It means that we are, in reality, spiritual beings with high capacities. We are the one physically incarnated, and we shouldn't be treated like black sheep or like sheep no, because we have great capacities. And what was happening when the funding, when Americans, when British people came to this state, this ground, this country, there was no government at first, and the people were living well, in a way. Who ruled them? The farmers back then in the 17th century. the intellectuals who came here, who attempted the adventure, leaving England, the religious people, the Puritan, but all the other people did it. We didn't need, there was no government in Quebec, Canada for centuries, yet we were living, people were living. So do not accuse me of wanting to destroy the government. This is not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is we need to evolve to another level of consciousness and heart, compassion. This is spirituality in action. And in my book, I challenge, in the first portion of the book, I challenge all the major human institutions, religion, politics, economics, finances, education, because we educate people, young people, to become slaves of a system, a certain system. Slaves, perhaps it's, people will say, well, no, it's too strong. At least to adhere to certain principles, let's say, to maintain the economic system. Can we say that? To go to fight other countries, to maintain the empire.
Yes.
We can say that. That's the truth.
Of course.
Okay? What I'm saying is that, the only thing I'm saying is that it's the same thing than a famous carpenter born 2,000 years ago. His name was Jesus of Nazareth. He was the most rebellious mind of the entire human history. A revolutionary. He challenged the doctors of the religious law back then. By doing this, he knew that he was going to be crucified. He was bright. He knew that. He challenged them in the temple in Jerusalem 1 week before. By doing this, he knew he was going to be put on the cross for sure. If I go in Washington, D.C., I start yelling at the White House, Trump, and what will happen of me? They will get rid of me within a few hours, I suppose. If I start screaming loud and clear, I won't last very long. They would put me behind bar, which is normal in the kind of system we live. I'm not saying that we should do that, but I'm saying that you created independence in the United States and you revolted because of an unjust tax on tea in Boston, right? Why don't people not revolt today, given the actual conditions of life? That's my question to my fellow American people. It's even worse than the tea, the taxes on tea today. I'm not saying rebel against the government, but what I'm saying is that wake up, because you're acting like sheep, programmed biologically, physically, electrically, chemically, hormonally, at all levels. Because in reality, you're spiritual beings. You're the one incarnated in physical bodies. So why don't you wake up? This is what I'm saying. You have brains that have been designed throughout evolution to be able to wake up at certain point. Here I'm saying how we can wake up. This is what
Hold it up.
is.
Hold it up for folks so they can see the cover.
How?
This is the latest. Just hold it like this.
Here? Like
No,
that?
Towards that camera.
Okay.
There you go. Awakening the human robot, dismantling the empire of fear, belief, and control.
Exactly. This is, and you should see the endorsement. 5 famous scientists, philosophers, writers, and mostly in Europe so far. But because this is, but I will have Ibn Alexander has written an endorsement. If you want to endorse it, Danny, you can do it.
I'll have to. I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it
First.
I'll give you an endorsement.
But I've asked famous people in the United States.
Yeah.
I consider myself to be, I like punk music.
Do you really?
So I contacted Joan Jett. So, hey, Joan, if you ever look at Danny's show, you never responded to my letter.
What's his name?
Joan Jett, Black Hearts. I love rock and roll. Don't tell me you don't know Joan Jett.
No,
she's
who's
the
Joan
grandfather of punk music.
Who is it?
Joan.
What's the band?
Joan Jett.
Please
man.
show
yeah.
Joan. Hey, she was the. You don't tell me you don't know Joan Jett and the Black Hearts. Look at her.
Oh, okay.
You're too young. That's why, Danny.
Yeah, I was never into Joan Jett.
Well, I love rock and roll. Never heard
That's
that?
good. I do love
That's
rock and
her?
roll. No, I mean, I'm sure I've heard of her, but
Okay. She was
I guess I'm a poser.
She's
I'm
the
not a real
equivalent
punk
of
rocker.
Ozzy Osbourne for heavy metal. Joan. And she's a rebellious mind. And so I asked her, from one rebel to another, write an endorsement for
Is
this,
she?
Joan.
Have you ever talked to her?
I don't have I cannot. She's shielded, man. You cannot, these people, they live in their own castles.
Yes.
You don't access them. So I'm telling you, Joan or your friends, hey, remember 2 months ago I sent you a letter about this.
Is she into this kind of stuff?
I read that now she's 66, 67. She has, she was, when she was younger, she was shooting herself. She was, doing the life of what they do in rock and roll. But now, 40 years after, she's become a spiritual woman. She's healthy. She doesn't take drugs anymore. So we're in the same team, Joan. Yeah. And so, but these people, I understand, because celebrities like that, they don't want to be utilized by other people they don't know, because we want to have, perhaps she would feel that she's used by me because she will write me a few lines.
Sure.
And that's not the goal. But I'll ask.
It's got to be organic. You can't force it.
I'll ask. I don't know. Famous rockers, but they are too old. They're dying now. All the guys. Ozzy is gone.
Oh,
I cannot ask Ozzy, but Ozzy was not into that kind of stuff. Yeah. Did you like him?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, let's come back to our discussion.
Yeah, no. One of the things I wanted to ask you about is there's a difference between near-death experiences and there's the phenomena of like having your life flash before your eyes.
The life review is part of the NDE.
Because I've had that happen to me before when I thought I was going to die, when I was in a situation where I was freediving in a cave and I couldn't find an escape, and I saw my whole life play in front of my
it's classic
eyes. What is happening in the brain there?
We don't know yet. We don't know. But it has happened also. It's reported in the scientific literature for alpinists in the Alps in Europe, when they were falling and they were convinced that they were going to die. Or you can drive a car and on the highway you're going fast and then you lose control. Let's say it's raining. It happens to people like that all the time. So it's like if when the mind, but the mind, I mean related to the biological mind, is convinced it's going to disappear, it triggers something like this, probably from because in near-death experiences, people can access memories of their entire life in the minute detail within a short amount of time. There's no clock over there, and not only the actual, if you believe in this stuff, incarnation, so-called incarnation, but also your previous lives as not Danny, but you were in another body, another personality. Maybe you were a woman or who knows, a child. And so the memories, the information, to come back to the information concept, is stored entirely. And some people use the concept of in Tunisia last week, there was a woman accessing what she called Akashic records, which means the information stocked of everything in the universe from the beginning. That's
my 6-year-old son has a friend he goes to school with, and she has vivid memories. She talks about
previous life
of how she was a dog named Lily in a previous life.
A dog.
She talks about it all the time.
I've never heard.
She gives the details like she's just rehearsing something that's like baked into her memory.
Wow. But very often, did you receive the guy heading the reincarnation research program at University of Virginia, Jim Tucker, psychiatrist? No? You should. Very interesting guy.
Jim Tucker.
Yeah. He was the he's the guy in charge. The first research psychiatrist who created the program over there was Ian Stevenson. He was a guy from Scotland originally that worked at McGill University in Montreal for years. And then he was offered to go to University of Virginia to create a research program about phenomena that didn't fit in the 60s, 1967. Phenomena that didn't fit with mainstream science, materialist science. And he started a research program, the first one on the planet, on reincarnation research. And to study reincarnation research, he was looking for children who retain a sort of memory of a previous life.
Oh, I have heard of this.
I'm sure you have.
Kripal told me about this.
Oh, yeah. And now the research psychiatrist in charge is called Jim Tucker. He's in his 60s, I think. And he pursued what Stevenson started decades ago. And so they will look for children who claim to remember a previous life or previous lives. And what they do, so they will send ads. Or now they use internet, but before they were putting ads on newspapers. And in countries where reincarnation is accepted, like India, for instance, Sri Lanka, the Druze people in North Lebanon, places like that, not United States necessarily, Canada.
So all the people in this study were from other countries?
Mostly, but you have famous cases in the States.
Okay.
Like Jamie Leninger. He was, as a child, he was talking of being a pilot during Second World War, and he was shot down in the over the Pacific by the Japanese or the German.
Oh, I've heard of this one.
Oh, yeah, it's famous case.
Yeah.
He was investigated by Jim Tucker.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and when he became older, he lost access to his memory. Like most children, when they reach 7, 8, they stop talking about this and they lose contact with their memory of the past.
Right.
For whatever reason, society tells them that, no, it doesn't exist. Sometimes it's their parents. But in this case, the parents were open. He gave so many details. It was clear that he was really a pilot. Or the other explanation in science, is that you can access a field of information in a so-called paranormal way without the use of your senses. So again, you are accessing information. It's information access and retrieval. So we cannot distinguish scientifically which one is right. Did we live together and we have memories of our previous life or lives? Or do we access an informational field?
Why do you think it is that children seem to have more creativity, more vivid dreams, nightmares, imaginations, talking to people? Like it just seems to be
imaginary
way
friends,
more
so-called.
of this woo stuff or extrasensory perception type.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
For lack of a better term, and it seems to go away in adulthood.
Brainwashing.
What is actually happening there?
Brainwashing. Conditioning.
They're being conditioned to the world.
TV tells them, except for, sci-fi shows or fantastic movies, this is not real. The only thing that is real is the material world, the analytical part of the human mind.
Yeah.
You don't use... I talked about holosynthesis before a bit. Holosynthesis, I'm using specific frequencies hidden in music. Like, have you heard of the Monroe Institute in Virginia?
Yes.
Okay, we're doing pretty much the same thing, but I discovered because the science journalists, they were asking me all the time, following my studies with the nuns, the near-death experiencers, well, how... To go back to your question, applied science. How does it help normal people in society, your studies? So they challenged me. And I thought about it for a year and a half. I was challenged. I didn't like it to be challenged like this. I felt, oh, shit. They're telling me that I did that for nothing. It's only for knowledge. Okay. So I was thinking, how can I help normal people, not mystics, to access spiritual worlds or to have transcendent experiences.
Tell him it's going to make him more money.
Me? I don't have
No,
any
I'm
money.
saying that's what you tell them. You tell these billionaires it's going to make you more money if you fund some of this mystical stuff.
Well, yeah, but it's a joke, but it's true because I've asked these people, I want my research to be funded in Switzerland and in the States, and that's what they were asking for real.
Just lie to them. Just be like, this will make you...
Cannot, because now it's not possible. Everybody will know. No, I cannot. No, but I don't want to lie because I've been taught like George Washington, never to lie. Mm-hmm. You don't lie. My father was telling me, if you lie, I'm going to beat you up.
It's a white lie. You lie to this greedy guy who wants to make more money by telling him that this extra consciousness research is going to make him more money. But in reality, what you're doing is a greater good for humanity.
That's what I think. But...
got to crack a few eggs to make an omelet.
Okay.
Hey, Epstein was super interested in this stuff. You know that, right? I was talking to a guy named Dean Radin the other day.
Oh, Dean, he's my friend.
He said he had a 20-minute phone. He came out in the Epstein files.
Dean. Oh,
Don't worry, he wasn't being bad. He had a 20-minute Skype call with Epstein.
Oh, okay. Skype.
So Epstein reached out and he saw that Epstein was funding a lot of his colleagues, right?
Oh, yeah, Harvard, everywhere.
And Dean wanted, he's like, fuck, this guy's funding science. He's like,
money.
And a lot of the smartest people I know are taking money from this guy. I'm like,
yes.
I'm going to take a call with him. So we did a 20-minute Skype call.
I didn't know that.
And he said that Epstein was just asking him to tell stories about ESP and spoon bending.
Stories?
Yeah, just tell me all about spoon bending and telekinesis and these kinds of things.
Okay. Oh, that's funny because 2 weeks ago I sent Dean from Switzerland. I sent him an email about this. He's reading. Not about, I didn't know about Epstein.
Yeah.
He never told me about Epstein before, of course.
Oh, I'm sure he doesn't brag about it, but
no. No, but so what's the goal? I can tell you because based on my findings, I've traveled in several countries around the world, and now I have tested thousands of people. And this is true. This is no gimmick. I'm not a New Age guru, and I'm not here to make money. I'm here to tell you the truth, based on what I have observed. So I can tell you that I can alter your brain activity within a few minutes using sounds with specific frequencies in a soundtrack.
is this some like Itzhak Bentov type stuff?
I don't know this stuff. I know his
Stalking
work,
the Wild
name.
Pendulum?
I didn't read this book when I was young, unfortunately, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's a bit like the Monroe Institute, except that the Monroe Institute was built in the early 70s. So it's based on older science. What I'm talking about is based on recent neuroscience finding. Okay. We have discovered new rhythms, new band waves since then. So we have more knowledge, of course. We're like 36 years later. So it's normal. Mm-hmm. So I'm using all the latest neuroscience findings. I have contributed to others as well. I'm using a verbal guidance, scripts like in hypnosis, a bit, but much shorter, smaller, lighter scripts. And I'm using deep abdominal breathing like Stan Grof, but not too rapid, not too long.
Yeah, not hyperventilating.
No, because that's not what I want. For 5 minutes, and then the sounds, and then combined to the guidance. And I can tell you, I can take anybody, because I've tested now, without being a mystic or nun or monk, I can bring them into expanded states of awareness within 10 minutes.
What do you mean expanded states of awareness?
The sense of identity, the small self, me, the personality will vanish. And from the small self, you become a greater self, a much bigger self. And eventually, the all, the one. I've studied thousands of people, so I know it's true. And I've done that in France, Quebec, Canada, England. I've done that not in the United States yet. I would love to come here and to show people this because it's huge. In other countries, Belgium, some countries.
And what type of therapeutic benefits or what type of benefits do people get from this?
I'm now teaching 4 clinical psychologists, psychoanalysts in France, from France. They will be certified as. They will be, in this approach, Holosynthesis, they become guides. We call them like guides. They guide you in your process of trying to connect with your own self, the greater self. So you have the big self, the little self. Like, do you know Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist? Okay. When he was talking about the self with uppercase S, he was referring to what I call the big self. When he was talking about the shadow, he was talking and the light versus the light. This was the little self versus the big self or the great self.
Understand.
And the great self, what it is your soul. It's your spiritual essence. Because people were asking me, based on my research and the research of other labs, help us to reach these levels, even if we're not contemplative nuns, professionals of contemplation, meditation. Can you? And the journalists, the science journalists, were telling me the same thing, and they were telling me, if you don't do this, then your research is okay. It's new knowledge, but what does it change? So I was challenged, and this Holosynthesis is my response.
Interesting.
So I'm ready to come here in United States and across the nation. California is open to this, of course, Colorado, Arizona, but I could go to Boston, New York. I don't know if they care about that, Florida, wherever, to demonstrate this and to show this, that it works for real. And you can, if you alter brain activity, automatically you alter your own sense of identity rapidly within minutes, and you will alter your connection with the spiritual world otherwise, because the brain normally acts as a filter. Okay? Survival mode, biological mode.
Yeah.
So if you want,
we can only see a very narrow spectrum of light.
That's what I'm saying.
We have infrared light. There's we can only hear certain frequencies of sound.
A small portion of the spectrum. So this is the filter I'm talking about. Remove the filter, and what is left?
So that's like
the one.
Right.
Like in psychedelic experiences.
Yeah.
This is what I have experienced.
Like when you take DMT, it's what it's doing is deleting the filter.
Exactly. For a few minutes. If you take Bufo, have you heard of Bufo? So it's
Bufo?
It's like TMT, but multiplied by 1,000 times. Bufo.
Whoa.
Bufo. Could you check? And you find this exotic creature in the desert in Arizona, Sonora Desert.
Bufo is a potent psychedelic drug derived from the venom of Bufo alvularis, the Colorado River. Oh, it's a toad. Oh, it's 5-MeO. Okay. Yeah. 5-MeO DMT.
But you go to the source of everything within a few seconds. So it's like the greatest roller coaster in the world.
I have a friend who went to South America to hunt for this toad. And he found one, and they took it. They took some of the venom off of him, and he tried. They burn you with it. They burn you, and then they stick the venom in your skin.
And result?
I think he got very high.
Because it's like the greatest roller coaster in the world. But this is dangerous because it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Even if you took LSD before, psilocybin or whatever, ketamine, this is another ball game.
Well, the DMT is interesting because the human body naturally creates DMT.
Well, yeah, but in small quantities.
Right, in small quantities. And the lungs. And so the body knows how to synthesize it, knows how to process it. That's why it only lasts for a short period of time.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. And I also had a gentleman on the show about a year ago who is who's doing the research. He's applying for, I think he's already started the study, but what he's doing is he's doing a study on endogenous DMT production and how it correlates to schizophrenia. And he believes that he knows he's studying this specific enzyme that regulates the release of internal DMT. And he thinks that the people who have schizophrenia
could
lack this enzyme. That's like that's the regulator.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Yeah. Very interesting.
But he needs the funding?
No, I think he's already got the funding. I think he has the funding.
Okay,
I think they've applied. They've done some sort of application, so they're waiting for it
the outcome.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But,
great.
All right. Anything else we should talk about? Anything else we haven't covered yet that we should cover?
I don't think so. Okay. Do you have any questions to ask?
No, I think
I feel like we've done what we had to do.
I think we have. We have some Patreon questions. So we have some questions from our Patreon subscribers.
Okay.
And are we going to do them on the show?
Right now?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we'll do them right now.
How long is it?
Probably take 10
About
minutes.
a minute per question. We got 6 questions.
Oh, okay.
We'll rip through them real quick.
Short. Okay.
We usually do them on Patreon, but we have only 6, so we'll do them here.
Okay. Sure.
All right.
Can you read? I didn't bring my glasses.
I'll read them to you. Yep.
Oh, I can see, but
That's not a question.
Not a question,
But
brah.
thank you, Zachary.
All right, so we have 5 questions. Okay, what does it tell us about religion and spirituality that transformative neurological effects can be mapped and measured across a range of traditions?
Well, you know that for every human experience, you have what we call neural substrate or underpinning. So let's say you're contemplating a nice plate of food that you're going to eat. You have neural substrate for this. Let's say you're contemplating a painting. You will have neural substrate. So you have neural substrate for every form of human experience, including spiritual experiences. That only tells you that a specific form of human experience is associated with specific neural substrate. It does not tell you anything about causality. So it's not because you have neural correlates or substrates that it's the neurons of the brain that create the experience. So that was my limit when I did the study with the Carmelite nuns. The science journalists were asking me, does it prove God or disprove God? Or no, it doesn't. It only says when you have a spiritual experience of connection, you feel like you're connected to the light or God, or you have these neural networks that become activated and others deactivated. That's the only thing we can say.
Right.
That's the limit of neuroscience.
What does it say about the baseline of human experience that attentional training can have such profound and reproductive results?
Yes. I discussed that with Dean Radden for a few years ago because he found out that, did you hear about this study where people were trying to influence the behavior in electronic system of a quantum object as a wave or particle? Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
And he found out that people with the greater attentional training, like monks, for instance, Buddhist monks, were they were the best subjects because they were more capable of altering or influencing the object at the quantum level.
Interesting.
So when I went to I was invited by the organization of the Dalai Lama in 2013 in Australia, Melbourne. The Dalai Lama liked me back then because he thought that I was one of the scientists promoting a new science of consciousness. He invited me in Melbourne for a discussion, a dialogue, in front of thousands and thousands of people. And there were 2 atheist materialist scientists from Australia, to play the devil's advocate.
Yeah.
But he loved me. And after the public discussion, he asked me to go out for lunch, the Dalai Lama himself. So I sat with the Dalai Lama to my right for an hour, 15 minutes. And we discussed everything. And he told me, why do you think, or I asked him, why do you train attention before the heart? Compassion in Buddhism, in Tibetan form of Buddhism. He said attention, to respond to the question, is the key. Because if you don't train attention first, your mind is like a monkey jumping from one branch to another in trees, in the jungle. To be able to influence your own body and the world, the physical world, like in Dean Radin's experiments, you have to control attention. And to control attention, what do? You if you're doing bodybuilding, you lift, weights. If you want to train attention, they use a point on the wall or a candle, and that's what you're asking of your students in Buddhism at first. And when after months of training or a few years, then they're ready to go to the next level. That's what the Dalai Lama himself told me. Then you're ready to develop loving kindness, because you can focus your mind. But before, it doesn't matter. If your attention is not disciplined, focused, you cannot focus on loving kindness, because your mind is always ruminating thoughts from thought to thought. And you know how many thoughts we can have during a day?
How many?
60,000 sometimes. So this is the key. Focus attention for everything you do. Your work, my work, whether you're racing cars, you're doing professional NFL football. The quarterback, for instance, he needs to be in the zone. If he's not, he's not going to be that good. He needs to train his attention. So if I would be a NFL coach, if I would work with my players, I would ask them to do Buddhist kind of exercise to train their attention. And they would have an unfair advantage over other teams.
This is like meditation, right? Clearing your mind.
Yes, this is you cannot meditate if your mind is wandering all the time. Have you tried?
I've tried. It's difficult for me.
It's for me too, because I'm naturally too overexcited. Unless I train attention and focus, then it's better.
This is my problem with telepathy. Everyone talks about telepathy.
Oh yeah, because
how could I be telepathic when I have 30,000 thoughts going around at once?
You cannot. You cannot. Yeah. Unless you have a super power and you're very strong and you can emit your thoughts. But it's good for movies, Marvel comics. But in reality, no.
As neuroscience begins to map the spiritual experience of various contemplative, easy for you to say, contemplative traditions, what do you think are the clinical implications of these states, insights, and awakenings?
Well, that's what I was addressing.
We discussed this, yes, exactly.
In Holosynthesis, we will be able, as a human species, to connect more and more with our spiritual nature, essence, which means that ultimately, if more and more people are doing this, and now I want to travel the whole world to tell the good news, the message, we can change, not genetically, through consciousness, the human species and the future of humanity. We have that power. It's built in.
Yeah.
But no, if you're not told about that in school, you don't know necessarily. So, but we can really change society, culture, and the world through this.
If I was you, I would want to go study the brains of like some children or some people in like uncontacted tribes in the rainforest to see what's going on in their brains.
Yeah, but they don't like to be, it's sensitive.
It's sensitive, but nothing easy.
I have native blood, and we didn't want to be bothered when I was young. We prefer the woods, my father and I, and so I can imagine that if you live in the middle of the jungle,
if you could hypothesize what you would see if you were doing like a brain scan of one of those guys, what would you think? What would you think you would see?
Scientists, they base what they see on empirical findings.
Somebody who has no connection to the technological world.
Oh, I know. We have, You know the thousands and thousands of thoughts I was talking about earlier? They are related to one major neural circuit that is called the default mode network. And this thing runs all the time, except it slows down when you go outside of yourself as the small self. And you reach greater aspects of yourself with a major uppercase letter, S. It means that the key, slow down your thoughts. But, we cannot do this automatically because we say that. So we have to show people in holosynthesis, that's what we do, mechanically through frequencies. So your brain doesn't have the choice because there's a phenomenon called the brain entrainment response. And so when the brain catches, even if you're not conscious of this, the low frequencies in the soundtrack, it will automatically resonate with the frequencies. So let's say right now we are generating about beta waves around 25, 23 cycles per second or hertz because we're wide awake. But if you want to expand your state of consciousness, your sense of identity, to connect with the spiritual world, let's say, you have to slow down brain activity, like I said before. That's what we found with the nuns, the people who experience near-death experience during clinical death, and so on and so forth. The key is to lower brain frequencies. But if you want to remain alert and remember, you cannot go down to 0.5 because you won't remember anything. So I devised new techniques.
What is 0.5?
Frequency, hertz.
That's
0 is
like
death, clinical death.
And 0.5 is like meditative state.
Oh, no, we don't see 0.5. We see the lowest 3, 4.
3 or 4.
Even with monks, Buddhist monks or nuns.
And you're saying the deeper you get into this,
that's the key.
This meditative state where your mind is clear of all thoughts and you lower the frequency, the
near zero.
The least access you have to memories.
Yes, but there's a way to, and that's what I devised that's why I created something different than the Monroe Institute. But I don't want to teach all my secrets. But I can tell you something. You can send, I'll tell you, to go near zero, but to remain awake, there's one way we can do this. And in my lab, we devised this. You send every, let's say, 30 seconds. At the same time, you send very slow frequencies in the sounds. You send high frequency sounds corresponding to gamma waves, 40 cycles per second. This is the key to memory, focus, and so on and so forth. So at the same time, you're near death,
in
an expanded state of consciousness. If you want to keep the information alive and you want to remain conscious, we use gamma waves. That's the key. Now everybody will have my recipe, but it's very effective. So even if you feel that you are in a state of connection with God, the light, or whatever, because I see that in holosynthesis workshops, the persons, the experiencers, can bring back the information because of the gamma burst. It's technical.
Interesting.
So you have my recipe.
Okay.
And you should, if I come to Florida and I invite you, will you come? Mm-hmm. Would you come to a workshop to experience that yourself?
I'd be interested.
Would you be willing to do that?
To participate?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to think about that. But I'd be interested in seeing it, for sure.
Okay, you could see it with other people.
Okay.
I would invite you.
Okay.
And you could film it if you want. Yeah, and you will see what happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me know. I'm interested.
Okay. You're open enough for this?
I'm open.
Okay.
Can you explain the relationship between what a Christ is and the potency of mystical experiences? Okay.
What a Christ?
This person is talking about ancient drugs.
Oh.
Drugs in antiquity. and mystical.
I was not
experiences.
there.
Yeah, we weren't there. All we have is ancient texts to rely on.
I'm old, but I'm not old enough for that.
Yes. All right. Is the universe infinite? If so, when we dream, are we just connecting to a similar universe and seeing through the doppelganger eyes?
Okay, based on my own mystical experiences, the universe is included within consciousness and not vice versa. The universe does not it's inside, not outside. The big C consciousness.
Interesting.
But I cannot. It's a mystical.
Do you think we really landed on the moon?
I don't know. Oh, you were into that kind of.
I know. I'm figuring this guy
kind
out.
of conspiracy? No, but I heard both sides. So some people told me that the great Stanley Kubrick, the great filmmaker, did the fake landing on the moon himself. He was working for the U.S. government, I suppose, and so they're bringing all sorts of arguments: the flag, the shadow, versus if I listen to Neil Armstrong, he's dead now, but co-pilots, and they all swear. And my friend Gary Schwartz at the University of Arizona was friend of Edgar Mitchell, who created the Institute of Noetic Sciences. He was the boss of Dean Radin. And Edgar Mitchell swore to Gary Schwartz that he walked on the moon. He was the sixth man to walk on the moon. So I don't know what to believe, to be honest. Honestly, I don't know.
I'm with you there.
Okay.
And did you study other? We talked about that.
Yes.
He did.
Okay.
Thank you. This has been a fascinating conversation.
For me too.
We will link your new book,
thanks a lot.
Awakening the Human Robot.
Yes.
Below. And is there any other links or anything that we should tell people about where they can go and visit you and find out more about your research?
Yes, because I have my website is in French, but I have also an English translation.
Okay.
So it's I could send it to you. It's a bit complicated for US.
Just text it to us. We'll put it in the, show notes.
But it's drmariebeureguard.com.
Perfect.
And yes.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. This has been
thanks
fascinating.
to you. I've been I greatly enjoyed our experience
Likewise.
this afternoon.
Likewise. All right. Good night, everyone.